you don't know how to act. Yeah, I'm pointing out facts. If I point a finger, that's point of attack. He'll point who's next. Flag on the plate, now I'm causing them death. We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A die-hard fan, never live with regret. Yes, sir. Go to my neck. Burgundy flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Beat like gas. Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep? Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Left side. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? Watch the middle. Commanders. Where's my soldiers? High off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feed the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
Welcome, one and all across the nation and around the world. I welcome you all to episode 36 of the Commanders Gridiron Report on this Friday, December 6, 2024. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and we are back to discuss the previous week's action within the Washington Commanders. My apologies for the delay. Tonight was not technical difficulties. I took a nap earlier, overslept a little bit because I have to go to work tonight. It's usually my night off, but I'm on call. I'm going to go in and help out a little bit here in a few after I get this show done. And if I have just enough time, I might do Total Football Talk extra after this because it is pretty much prepared. It just depends on how much time this episode takes. Worst case scenario, I'll bring it tomorrow. But I'll let you know by the end of this episode if we will be bringing a TFT extra episode tonight or not. But thank you all for tuning in as we are live tonight on December 6th. We have to discuss the Week 13 action. We also got to prepare a big old matchup during the bye week. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have a bye week for this team this week. And maybe a little bit of a preview for what's to come for the upcoming game before next week's episode that previews that actual game. With all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at who's bringing this to you. First of all, I got to look at Team MBS Media. Shout out to you guys for helping us with another platform to air this show live, as well as
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
As we are live for the Commanders Gridiron Report. This one, episode 36. Just gone through the 13th game of the season, and now we have to take it to much more on this edition. Let's go ahead and take it to the 1st and 10. See what's cracking on this episode.
They are the Washington Commanders. New name, new marks, new uniform.
Soldiers, are we ready for Operation Burgundy?
And first of all, in the 1st and 10, we have to talk about the Tennessee Titans coming to Northwest Stadium to face the Washington Commanders this past week for Week 13, December 1st. This was a Sunday 1 o'clock p.m. game. Tennessee Titans got mollywopped in this matchup from start to finish. They got de-mother-fathering destroyed in this game as the Commanders come down on them 42-19, scoring 4 touchdowns in the first half alone. This game, was an epic beatdown. It sure was. This was one where the Tennessee Titans, after the game, needed to do this to the Commanders.
Acknowledge me.
Because the Titans are an absolute I'm not even going to go there. But at least the Commanders, when they were at home, after taking way too many of these, served one up to the other team. Mickey Delaney's in the house, says, let's go. What's up, Mick? Appreciate you tuning in and being here live with us tonight, as I'm here for a brief episode. And hopefully, this is a great spark of momentum for this team, because it was not looking good for a few weeks. Even though you had to face a team of lesser caliber to get the win, you still got it. And at least after this week, You now are 3 games above 500, which is definitely great to happen for your team.
Surprise, motherfucker.
When you think about the fact that they were 4-13 last year, and now they've gotten to the point to where they have doubled their win total from last year, I say it is for me at this point. I was just hoping to be 9-8 by the end of this year at the start of it, when we were going into week 1. I said that on this show way back before week 1 started. And, wow, that was like what, 3 months ago? Sorry, my light just died out here on this unit right here. But for what it is, hopefully I'm not showing up too dark on here. I'll adjust this stuff during our first commercial break, but it just happened to be wild that while I was in mid-discussion, the lights literally went out on one side. But hey, right here with looking at this game, 42-19, Tennessee Titans got absolutely smacked, and we have to look at some highlights with that game and take it into the Burgundy Flex review to give you the proper review of this game.
Go to my neck, Burgundy Flex. Who wants the smoke? We bringing it home. Be like that.
And here with the Burgundy Flex review, look at Scary Terry right there in one of his celebrations for one of his 2 touchdowns that he had on the day. He had a 16-yard touchdown in the first quarter and a 3-yard touchdown in the second quarter. This man was absolutely on fire in this game and has been a big weapon, as he has been for the past several seasons for this franchise, but a big weapon for old Jaden Daniels in this game. And yes, they were repping the black jerseys the first time since the matchup that they had against the Bears a little over a month ago that I was in attendance for. And I am rocking said jersey tonight. Be a hater if you want to. Sorry the lights are a little dim. Again, I will work on this during the first commercial break. But right here and now, talking about this mother-fathering team, the Washington Commanders. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the previews of the reviews. I said it wrong, but you know what I'm saying. It's the reviews. Let's take a look at the reviews of this game. It's a first quarter shuffle between these two teams. The Titans were not liking the fact they were getting their expletive kicked in this game, and there was a little bit of a scuffle as a result of it. But myself, as a fan of football and of this franchise, was absolutely loving it in this moment. Going back to said scuffle. A big momentum shift for this team very early on, that being the Washington Commanders, as they were coming off of a pretty big skid, losing to the Cowboys the week prior, then losing to the Eagles the week before that, and the Steelers the week before that. They were on a 3-game losing skid, finally coming off of it, and the momentum shifted, I believe, in this moment right here. JD was absolutely loving it too. He was loving the fact that his team was rolling in the first half, like my man Cool says, J.KUL, in the song Burgundy Flex, that is our song for this show. Old JD was running the ball too. You can see him getting past the defenders, elusive as expletive, and he was definitely extending the plays each and every drive. One way, one how. He was on fire in this game. Brian Robinson Jr. gets the first score for this team, though, when you look at the game as far as touchdowns goes. He had a 40-yard touchdown run with 11 minutes and 58 seconds left in the first quarter. So, 3 minutes and 2 seconds in? This man gets a touchdown. This team goes up 7-0 early on in the game. Now, talking about JD, old Jaden Daniels, this is him with his 1 rushing touchdown that he had in the game, where he rushed, got the ball across the line right there, broke the plane, and made it in to make the score 14-0 with only 2 minutes and 23 seconds left in the first quarter. Terry McLaurin then adds to this. Oh, Scary Terry with a touchdown. Look at this catch over Worley on the defensive side. He was doing his job. He was getting it done, and he got it done right there as they celebrate together. Oh, JD and Scary Terry celebrating in this moment. Zach Ertz also added to the touchdowns for this team, but he would do this in the fourth quarter. He would catch a 4-yard pass from Jaden Daniels. This time it would make it a 35-13 game. But let's go back to the point where Scary Terry would score that first touchdown. When he would score that first touchdown, would be in the first quarter. They scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. It was 21-0 before the first quarter even ended. It's a lot of possessions to have within the first quarter. It felt like a lot of punts were coming from the Titans' way, whether it was punts or it was turnovers. You got to look at it for what it is, because that's a lot of possessions in the first quarter, let alone the first half, because in the second quarter, and this was only a mere 3.5 minutes. Well, no, I take it back. 4.5 minutes after Terry's first touchdown, he would score his second touchdown, a 3-yard pass from JD. This team would go up 28-0 with 10 minutes and 59 seconds left in the second quarter. In the first half alone, 28-0. Absolutely dumpster Pelican-like performance from the Tennessee Titans defense. It was bad if you're a fan of the team, but great if you're a fan of the team that's absolutely capitalizing. And for the Commanders, in these wins that they have had this year, in the 8 wins that they have had, really nice production, and especially coming from the offense. The defense has been a little rocky, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. Now, before the first half would end, the Titans would score with 23 seconds left on the clock, as Nick Westbrook-Ikhine would have a 27-yard pass hauled in from Will Levis to make it a 28-7 game at halftime. After halftime, though, there wasn't really as much scoring coming from the teams. Well, the Titans would score a little bit more than what they did in the first half, but the Commanders slowed it down a little bit. As in the third quarter, they didn't score at all. The only thing that was happening in the third quarter was Nick Folk was scoring mother-fathering field goals. It was nice to see that. They were actually putting forth effort, but they were getting their expletive kicked in that moment, guys. Come on. They were getting their expletive kicked. You know it, and I know it, that they weren't coming back. There was no mother-fathering way that the Titans were coming back at this point. As with those 2 field goals that Nick Folk would score, they would still be down 28-13. Now, you're probably saying this, Drew. They were down by 2 scores. With 1 2-point conversion, they could have came back. Yes, they could have came back. This is the Tennessee mother-fathering Titans that we're talking about here. A team that got rid of a good head coach, in my opinion, a little too soon, in Mike Vrabel. The team is underperforming over the past few seasons because of the way the management has handled the team, not the coaching. That's just my opinion. Look at what happened with Derrick Henry leaving and what he's doing with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about that another time on Total Football Talk or Total Football Talk Extra. But right now, it is the Washington Commanders Gridiron Report time. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the fact that beyond that third quarter, we did get to, when we were looking at the highlight parts of this segment, Zach Ertz scoring this touchdown. It was a 4-yard pass he hauled in from JD with 14 minutes and 15 seconds left in the third quarter. So right at the beginning of the third quarter, he would haul in this touchdown to make it a 35-13 game. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine would have his second touchdown reception for the game, a 17-yard pass hauled in from Will Levis that would be the last score by them. It would be a 35-19 game at that point, but this defense was absolutely united for this Commanders team. When you only give up 19 points for the entirety of a game, to the point to where your offense has the freedom to score like they did and score 42 points. Let's say they were united on this day. As when you look at Frankie Louvu's pressure that he had on Will Levis just in this photo alone, and then this next one after sacking the expletive out of them, they were on fire in this game. You can't deny that. I mean, let me know in the comments if you disagree, as we are mother-fathering live. If you don't think this team was clicking on all cylinders, especially in my opinion, a third-string kicker, when what's his name? I just drew a blank. Because he's very new. Zane Gonzalez, that's his name. That's right. Zane Gonzalez, like the third string kicker that's coming in for Austin Seibert, who is the second string, in my opinion, from coming off of waivers after letting go of Brandon McManus for the debacle that he had. We already talked about that during the offseason. This is their third choice in kicker this year. He's coming in and doing what he's doing. I'd say between all the 3 phases of this game, the Commanders were rolling. They absolutely were, because Gonzalez in this game as far as extra points goes, he was on fire. But the one thing I would say in the review that was probably the negative part to this game, and it's not much you can really bring that's negative when a team wins by 23 points. The field goal kicker, who is the third string kicker, did miss 2 field goals on the day. So he had 2 attempts at just getting 3 points, and he missed both attempts. I think we may see Austin Seibert next week if he is able to come back from injury that quick, or we're going to see a new kicker, a potential 4th pick of kicker within this season at this point when they come back in week 15. Because in week 14, they have a bye, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But right here and now, for the Burgundy Flex review, I'd have to say that this team right here did well on offense and defense. But on special teams, they definitely they need to make some adjustments right there with the kicker, because if they do plan to make a playoff run, and a playoff run could be making the playoffs and winning the wild card round, and that'd be your goals for this year. If you want to at least achieve that, at least achieve making it with the wild card spot, you need to have some solidarity over there on all 3 phases, not just offense and defense, which they are inconsistent at points with the defense, I would say, but there were some improvements made, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But the special teams, you had that one game performance against the Giants with Seibert where he kicked 7 field goals in a game. And I believe there's another game where he kicked 6. But ever since he got banged up, the team hasn't been right on special teams. I was trying to give praise earlier and set it up for something positive completely, but I had to bring down some type of shade, and the shade has to be brought down on this defense, because not the defense, the special teams, because the special teams has been the part that's been shaky. And when you go through 3 different kickers in a season before the season even starts, it's a big red flag right there. Let's see what you guys got out here in the comments. As Dante's here and says, "What's up, guys?" What's up, Dante? Appreciate having you out here in the chat, as well as Mickey Delaney for saying let's go earlier. And Sick Diggy's in the house says, "What's good, folks? How's it going?" Well, besides my light deciding to take some type of expletive during the commercial, we hadn't gotten to commercial yet, but I'm gonna see if that fixes anything. Of course not. It didn't. Try to figure it out during the commercial, but then again, right here and now, other than the lighting having a little bit of a time at this point, it's going okay. It's going okay. But for the Commanders, it's going even better, because they have doubled their win total in one season, let alone from the previous season. And I would say if they get at least one more win, they've met my goal for this year going into it. But I think their goals exceed what mine were to start. And that's why we're seeing the type of production out of this team that we're seeing at this point there, Sick. Thank you to you, Dante, and Mick for being out here in the chat. With all that being said, we're going to take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we still have the Soldiers of the Week, the Showstopper, the Opponent of the Week, and the Final Drive. See you guys here in about 2 minutes after this first commercial break.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss them some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. $, D Willie 87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie the bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen, stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Drew Willingham.
In this case, yeah, you put the blame on Kyle Shanahan for apparently not preparing the team enough for the overtime rules, supposedly.
Cole Johnson.
Peyton was considered the winner, and he was the darling of all darlings for Gerald.
With a special appearance by Tyrone Alizé McDummy.
Ain't nobody calling me. Text. Delete.
Join these two football enthusiasts as they give you Total Football Talk. Live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media YouTube channels.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right there. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
Welcome back to the Commanders Gridiron Report, episode 36. We are back from our first commercial break as the Commanders scored 4 touchdowns in the first half to beat the Titans 42-19. I am your host, Drew Willingham, and yes, the lighting was fixed during the commercial break. Thank you guys for the patience. Thank you for sticking with me during this commercial break, as now the lights are back on in the studio. So when it comes to this, we still have 4 more segments to discuss. With that being said, let's go ahead and take it into the Soldiers of the Week to break down the MVPs from this past week's performance.
Where my soldiers, right there. Commanders, where my soldiers, left side.
We're going to start it off with an honorable mother-fathering mention, and that is Chris Rodriguez Jr. with 13 carries, 94 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. I would have to say, in my opinion, he deserves to be the honorable mention for this game as far as Soldiers of the Week go. Now, I clicked the wrong banner. Let's go ahead and go back to the Soldiers of the Week. When it comes to acknowledging the standouts from Week 13, again, I would have to say my Soldiers of the Week honorable mention, Chris Rodriguez Jr., 13 carries for 94 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Beyond the honorable mention, though, we have 3 Soldiers of the Week to discuss, and that is these players right here. Terry McLaurin, 8 receptions, 73 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns was definitely a highlight in this game. Brian Robinson Jr. also added 16 carries for 103 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Jaden Daniels, though, I'd have to say, was the star of this game despite throwing an interception. He was 25 of 30 for completions out of attempts for 206 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns with 9 carries for 34 rushing yards on the day and 1 rushing touchdown, totaling 4 total touchdowns in this game. When you take a look at these Soldiers of the Week, between those 4 players with the honorable mention included, that being Chris Rodriguez Jr., Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., and Jaden Daniels, those are my choices for the Soldiers of the Week for this past Week 13's performance. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take this into our next segment, that being the Showstopper, where we discuss the adjustments this team can make going in to their bye week.
I off the way that this sound, they turn up as soon as they feet the ground. I am not playing around. I hit them, I bet that they feeling me now.
When it comes to the Showstopper for this episode, one of the biggest adjustments they can make is in their secondary, which is what they're going to get help with, because according to reports, for the first time since the trade took place right before the trade deadline, when they acquired cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, he's actually going to suit up in Week 15 when they face his former team, the New Orleans Saints. So for the first time since the trade, It seems like a storybook. He's playing against his former team. Now, it's a little bit easier of a contest when you look at how the Saints offense has been performing in the past month and a half. But right now, this couldn't come at a better time. It's coming off of a 3-game losing streak. The Commanders finally get a win in this past week right before the bye, which definitely gives a momentum shift for them finally. But they even get a little bit more help with this when you look at the fact that they have some help on the secondary coming off of the bye week. So when you look at the fact of what they've been doing without him, they've been giving up some points. And there's been a lot of situations where they've given up more points than what they've scored. And that's why they have 5 losses at this point. Now, they could have a whole lot more. And if this was of years past with the teams that they have assembled within the recent years, they would be a lot worse than 5 losses at this point. So it's definitely big for them at this point of the year to have the wins that they do. It sets them up for a pretty decent ending to the year. But as far as the improvements that they can make, that would come from adjustments that they would make, the biggest adjustment they're going to have coming off of the bye week is Marshawn Lattimore on defense. And it's going to be interesting to see if that pays dividends coming from that trade, because once you come back from the bye week, you have 4 games left in the year. So you basically traded for Marshawn Lattimore to get 4 guaranteed games out of him this year. You haven't even clinched a playoff spot yet. And you made that trade. Now, of course, the trade was more so for the upcoming year or two. It's beyond this year that they made the trade for. And, of course, you want to protect your investment. I get that. But there could be some scrutiny that comes from that trade before the deadline if he doesn't make an impact, and a positive one within those last 4 weeks, to where this team does clinch a playoff berth, whether it be through the 5th, 6th, or 7th seed in the wild card, because I don't think you're going to win the NFC East at this point because of what the Eagles are and what they have done up until this point with the amount of wins that they have put together. And you still face them again in Philly, which I've been talking some expletive, saying that the Commanders will, get redemption for that loss at home when they play in Philly. But it is a tough place to play. It will be pretty cold at that point. The weather will be playing a factor in it, because there could be snow. Who knows? There could be some mother-fathering snow on the ground at that point. And coming off the bye week, you play the Saints, and then not that long after that, you have the Eagles. So I feel like they win against the Saints. They'll have a guaranteed, a positive record for this year, because they wouldn't be able to do any worse than 9-8 at that point if they lose the remaining 3 games of the year. But I believe this team can get to double-digit wins and at least finish 10-7. And it's still pretty questionable at that point if they make a playoff berth at that point. But they could. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Let's hope they're not the 7th seed, because that's not good for how to start it out. And you'll more than likely be ousted in the first round. But I think this team has a really good chance to win out at least 2 of their last 4 games, potentially 3. And we'll break down those games more as time goes on. But right here and now, as far as adjustments, the biggest one they're going to make is Marshawn Lattimore. The other big adjustment they can make coming off of the bye week, I would say, would be you need to either get Austin Seibert back in there as your kicker if he is healthy enough to come off of IR, or you need to find another kicker out there, because I think even Adam Vinatieri now at his point, 52 years old, hadn't kicked in like 5 years or whatnot, would be a better choice to Zane Gonzalez for the types of field goals that he missed this past week. And you need somebody out there with experience that can get it done in these crucial times of games where the pressure is on. So adjustments, Marshawn Lattimore, get your kicker straight. And defense needs to remain consistent with how they've been stopping the other team. It's one thing to stop the Tennessee Titans, but it's another when you're facing teams of solid status on the offensive side. And after this upcoming game with the Saints off of a bye, you have some pretty challenging opponents as far as the offenses that you will face for the remaining 4 games of the season. And I mean, let's just talk about it again. Right after the Saints, you have the Eagles on December 22nd for your second game of 4. Then you have the Falcons on December 29th, which is questionable, and the Cowboys just beat you a few weeks back. So, looking at it for what it is, it's even though the Cowboys aren't playing, well, if they won out, they'd be playing for a potential wild card spot, even though the chances are slim. Got some pretty good opponents to round it out. The Saints, I believe you will get your 9th and guaranteed positive record for the season win in this upcoming game. But the Eagles, Falcons, and Cowboys, because the Falcons, they're hot and cold. If you get the type of Falcons where Kirk Cousins throws too many interceptions and helps you win for the other side, then I'd say that'd be good for you, but you're not guaranteed that. So, with that being said, let's see what you guys say in the comments. Sick Diggy says, CRJ really bringing the business. Hats off to the Commanders for bringing in extra talent in the backfield. Absolutely. Chris Rodriguez Jr. has been absolutely crushing it, and he got that final score in this game for the Titans this past week, which made it a 42-19 game with 3 minutes and 31 seconds left. So definitely a shout out to you, Sick, for bringing up Chris Rodriguez Jr. Sick also says they definitely needed more depth in the running back department. They do. And Brian Robinson Jr. is pretty talented, but he's not consistent. And he's also been through a lot, early on in his NFL career with getting shot. Regardless of if you want to, admit it, I feel like it does affect him. He's a step slower, just maybe a half a step. It's not quite what we were seeing out of him when he was in college and when he was, dazzling us with his preseason performance leading up to when he got shot. Okay. Now looking at it for what it is, I feel like they will have to make a move this offseason, potentially for another backup or starting running back. They will need to bring in another tight end at some point because Ertz only has a short shelf life for this team. And you still need help on defense, in my opinion, because with trading away Chase Young and Montez Sweat, which looking back on it, especially with Chase Young, was a good move. But Montez Sweat's departure definitely has been affecting the defense a little bit. And now that you're at least addressing the help on the secondary, it's time to address the help with the surrounding pieces on defense as well. And I think that the adjustments that they really, truly need to make, there's not enough they can make between right now and the end of the year that's going to make a significant difference besides the move they made for Marshawn Lattimore. And we'll see if they win the last 4 games and finish 12-5 because of Marshawn Lattimore comes in and is him for the backfield, has like 2-3 interceptions and, forces some fumbles and is a positive spark to this defense to where they're not really giving up anything. That could be a game changer right there, but staying optimistic, I feel like he'll provide enough of a spark to where they will definitely finish on a positive note. I believe they will definitely win at least 1 out of 4 games to end the year, potentially 2. But at this point in the year, I don't have the Commanders going beyond 10-7 to finish out the last month of the season once they come off the bye. I don't really attribute that to having a bye during week 14. I attribute that more towards they still need to do a little more work in the management department to help build a better team, but they haven't done a bad job right now. They still just have a little more work to do to get to the type of caliber franchise they truly want to be. But right here and now through 13 games, I'm loving what I'm seeing as far as the turnaround. Is definitely a great success story, and I look forward to bringing up more of this as time goes on, as this is a whole lot more fun to discuss than what we were discussing last year with the debacle of this franchise in Landover, Maryland. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take it to our last commercial break. And when we come back, we still have 2 more segments left before we round this thing out. See you here shortly.
Commanders, where's my soldiers? Right side, right side. Commanders, where's my soldiers? Left side, left side.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the cash app, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commanders Gridiron Report. If you want your Commanders to be rep right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commanders Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J.KUL.
Where my soldiers, right side, Commanders. Where my soldiers, left side, Commanders. Where my soldiers, right side, Commanders. Where my soldiers, left side.
Welcome back to the Commanders Gridiron Report, episode 36. As we have been talking about the Commanders molly-whopping the Titans from this past week, scoring 4 touchdowns in the first half to beat them 42 to mother-fathering 19. I am your host, Drew Willingham. We are back from our last commercial break. We got some things to discuss out here in these streams. Let's go ahead and discuss our last 2 segments that we have, and then we will be back for our final drive. But with that being said, let's go to the opponent of the week.
Look how we step. Who we got next? Step on the right, step on the left. Who do we rep?
And who we got next is mother-fathering nobody, as this team has a bye for week 14. Again, week 14, the 8-5 Commanders face absolutely nobody. And that is your opponent of the week for this mother-fathering week for the mother-fathering Commanders.
We bet on ourselves, so what you expect? A die-hard fan never live with regret. Yes, sir.
You like that, don't you? Now we're at the final drive for this episode when it comes to the Commanders Gridiron Report. The commercial, a quick seg, and now to another one, as this team's on a bye this upcoming week. And I'd have to say at this point, very pleased in how the Commanders team has been performing. 8-5 is not anything to bat an eye at. So if you're a fan of this team, you're definitely liking what you've been seeing so far through 13 weeks. The team definitely needed a break, and that's what they're going to get this upcoming week with the bye. I will also get a break and probably be doing some yard work or something during that time, instead of having my blood pressure be on a roller coaster ride, which it had been through the 3 previous weeks. But this week, the team actually did a great job to where there was no roller coaster and blood pressure. Now, we got to see what Sick Diggy's got to say real quick. He says, it never gets old hearing Waz El Jefe go off about Boston and then some. At Drew Willingham, for what it's worth, be glad that the Commanders got a bye in week 14. They've got a bye. This win gives them a positive position as well as time to regroup on a good note. I would have to say that is some really solid advice. And after hearing that, I would have to agree with that. And have to give Sick a shout out for that. Also, to everybody that's out there in the chat, whether it's Dante, Sick, Mick, or even anybody else that's going to show up before we go off the air, just wanted to say this to you real quick.
What's that?
with that.
You know.
You like that? You like that?
There it is. Oh!
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. But with that being said, just want to give a quick shout out to you guys before we roll out. Just a bit of an announcement. If you want to come back in about 30 minutes or so, depending on whatever platform you're watching this on Sartoba Media, I will be live with episode 15 of Total Football Talk Extra. I'm going to go ahead and knock that out tonight so I don't have to set up a special time tomorrow to do it. So that way Corey can have his day with just being the only show on Sartoba tomorrow with the Grind of Wrestling podcast. But before I do get on out of here, again, I'm glad that the Commanders have been playing the way that they have so far in this season. I want to thank you all for tuning into episode 36 of the Commanders Gridiron Report tonight. Whether you're watching this on Team MBS Media or Sartoba Media, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time tuning in. We also have on Mondays Total Football Talk. Myself and Cole Johnson break down the previous weekend in football. On Fridays with Total Football Talk Extra, which I'll be bringing here in about 30 to 45 minutes, where I bring in the Monday and Thursday night games for that week, as well as this show, the Commanders Gridiron Report, that I try to do on Tuesdays, but lately because of my work schedule and priorities, I've had to push it back to Friday evenings, which nothing wrong with that. You guys still get the content, and I get to do everything that I need to do in order throughout a week. On Wednesdays, you can see Kyle Nash on Sartoba Media with the Student of the Game podcast, as well as the Duval Dive a Jaguar podcast, which he brings on Wednesday nights too. They also do a live reaction on Sundays after the game, whether it's a Sunday game or a Monday game or a Thursday game. They do live reactions after the games as well. And then, of course, my man Corey Mann on Saturdays with the Grind of Wrestling podcast, usually at about 4:00 p.m. Eastern time. Myself also, it's so new that I forgot to throw that out there in order, but Thursday nights, if you saw last night's episode that was titled Shift in Our Nation, it was the second episode of D. Willie in the Evening that I brought back for the third season, where I talk about a lot of shenanigans and a lot of different things that are not sports related. It's all in the D. Willie in the Evening show that is not live. It is pre-produced, and it is in the video section of Sartoba Media on YouTube. It's only a Sartoba Media YouTube project. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time to the Commanders Gridiron Report, please like, share, and subscribe. To those of you who have been loyal and coming back, thank you as always for tuning in and helping us out with the likes and the views and the subs, all that stuff. I appreciate you all because we can't do this alone, and it is a team over here. Even though I am a face of this brand for Sartoba, there are multiple of us that contribute to it to make it what it is, and without Cole and Kyle and Corey and myself, of course, I have to give myself credit, even though I'm very humble about it. Without all of you, this would not be what it is. I love all of you guys and all of you out here that tune in, that I don't have to remind, that just tune in loyally each and every week. You guys rock. I do my best to keep up the mother-fathering energy and show up when I can, because life throws you curveballs, and sometimes all you can do is just put your weight on your back foot and get ready for that swing and knock that mother-father out the park. And that's what we try to do each and every week. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Commanders Gridiron Report. Before we get on out of here, Six says, there are times that lost the past week and got a bye week. There's times that a team lost the last week and the past week and got a bye week. They've got more time to lick their wounds. Yes, they definitely do. But at least the Commanders, off 3 straight losses, definitely got a win. Whether it was against a dumpster Pelican team or not, they did. They got the win, and they served one big fat. To that team, and it was great to watch, unless you were a Titans fan. At that point, you were probably saying, hell to the no, 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 no. Hell
to the no.
But with all that being said, tune in about 45 minutes from the time that this show goes off the air. I'll be bringing you back Total Football Talk Extra because
I think I got my swagger back.
we've only got one more thing left to do, everybody, and that's look at one badass outro. For myself, Drew Willingham, as always, to you, stay safe out here in these streets.
Commanders, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, Commanders, where my soldiers, watch the middle, Commanders, where my soldiers, now we step, where my soldiers, right side, Commanders, where my soldiers, left side, now we step, where my soldiers, watch the middle. Commanders, where my soldiers can't hit them.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.